Hey, what's up? I'm here with Small Sins. We got Tom and Steve, guys. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
We chose the Star Wars looking location, this strange bridge. I don't know if you can see the other bridge, but we picked a location that was kind of Star Wars-esque. You guys Star Wars guys? What's the best Star Wars movie?
Well, it's got to be one of the first three, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, the second three, or
Yeah.
whatever.
I think first one for sure.
We went to that dude's party the other day, though. That was all right. We
Well,
had some,
which,
had some
like,
drinks.
Hayden Christensen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no way.
That was strange.
He's a lot more buff in real life.
He's pretty
Yeah.
buff.
Yeah. I
Pretty
thought he
buff.
was like a skinny guy like us, but
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
nice to meet you.
He's all grown up and could totally beat me up.
Really?
Yeah. But sometimes those celebrities, they just always stay young in your head,
Yeah.
I assume I can always beat up a kid, so.
Where was that party? Was that up in Thornhill or Richmond Hill or somewhere up there?
No,
Ultra
downtown.
Supper Club? Is that the name of the
some
place?
kind of clubby
Some kind
club.
of place
Okay,
that
clubby
we've
club.
never been
My
to.
shirt would be perfect for...
Yeah.
Where we can awkwardly receive bottle service, which
Yeah.
is very not us. And we're like, I don't want this for free. I gotta go.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny you mentioned that. I mean, the album you guys put out does have a bit of a club thing going, though. I mean, there's definitely some stuff you can dance to on
Couple
it.
tracks. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the electronica versus rock side of the new record. Pot calls kettle black.
We're always trying to mix drum machines and real drums, and mix very electronic, keyboardy, direct sounds with acoustic guitars and stuff. Was kind of always an intention that, even though pop and good songwriting is always the most important thing, but the way that we color that in is kind of up to us, and we always kind of went for this sort of hybrid vibe, I guess.
Cool. Are you guys Radiohead fans? Are you guys Massive Attack fans? Because there's points on the record where I was just like, whoa, that's super Radiohead. Whoa, that's super Massive Attack.
Yeah.
There's definitely some moments.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tonight, for example, I thought it was just a straight up, sort of, as soon as I heard it, I was
that
like,
was
that's
the
very...
most kind of epic
Yeah.
one, and all the strings on that. We
Yeah.
did live strings for all that, and actually got a quartet going and stuff. And but there's actually synthetic strings sort of layered under them to make them bigger, and it's every element is mixing electronic with real directly in layers to just try and make it as big as possible.
Nice. Now, Steve, how much of that is you? Because you edit, right? Your build is editing on the CD. So, I mean, those layers that you're talking about, who's in charge of that?
Like our whole thing is we wanted to create like a surreally perfect experience, where it's like it has the swag of a rock band playing, and but the tightness of like a dance record. So, I mean, I played guitar mostly on the record, but we got into beat editing all the drums so they matched up perfectly with the drum machine. And we didn't really use it as like a corrective thing, like, oh yeah, our drummer's not good enough. We just wanted like that sort of surrealism, perfectness.
Although there's a bunch of parts where we just left it alone as well and edited other things. But I think Steve got really proud of becoming so good at editing, and so wanted that credit on it as sort of a pride thing. But
I am the beat detective.
Now, I guess that also sort of ties into a question I wanted to ask you, Tom, and that's, is it a Dave Grohl type thing, where you're writing everything and then you tell people what you want, or did you write this entire thing?
Mostly Steve and I wrote a lot of the songs together, either Steve and I or me alone, and had basically demoed every song that's on this record. There was a demo that had pretty much every part that exists on it, and the final version existed in that demo. It was more about just laying all those parts down in a better studio, better quality, better instruments, better equipment. But all those parts existed before we even showed up.
Wow.
And so it's basically the band had to just learn all their little parts and perform them. So it was more about the actual in studio experience was more about just getting it done rather than being creative. The creative was kind of already taken care of before we got there.
Yeah, cool. Talk about Chaos, Deja Vu. That's a really good song.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of pops up on the end of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm assuming you guys are just boys with Chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we played him the record, or Steve played him the record as soon as we finished it, within a couple days after we sort of were just hearing the tracks for the first time at home. And he heard it and just kind of loved it, I guess, and wanted to rap on it, and we weren't ready to say no, and it just so happened there was kind of that space open on that song that didn't really seem empty until we put something there, and now it kind of can't live without it. but there just happened to be that space, and that was the last thing we did. We had literally recorded the whole record. Everything was done and ready to go and be manufactured even. And he came along and said, "Hey, I want to do this." And we're like, "Okay, sure, let's do it."
That's cool because I think there is. I mean, even if he wasn't rapping on the record, I think there are some hip hop elements, sort of, beat wise.
Well, we love to get into the drum machines and
Yeah.
and those kind of the hip hop groove is something that we would aspire to at certain points. Like there's something to it for sure that we want.
So I mean, I just thought it was like, I thought complimented it nice because you actually have him on there rapping.
Yeah, and why not? At first it was kind of weird. Like, really, we're gonna have a rapper on a record? That's odd. We've never done anything like that. Never even close. But then we're like, who cares? It's gonna be awesome. Like it turned out great. So
Yeah, it was really fun to like just say, everyone's notion of Small Sins, like we're this nerdy sort of electronic band, is like, screw it, we're gonna have a rapper on this song.
That's awesome. You guys are going to be rolling in Benzes soon. Okay, I also wanted to ask you about, considering how long you've been embedded in the indie scene in Toronto, I wondered, when BSS and Feist and Chaos even, when all these guys got huge, were you like, that's awesome, like finally, like...
Yeah, well, I've always believed in my heart that the only reason we got signed to a major label in the States was because of those bands. And the people that signed, well, I mean, like, we've long since left that label / would have been dropped. You can't fire me, I quit kind of thing. But back then when the money was there, those people, like the people running that label, were like, Toronto is happening. We need our piece. We need something from Toronto too. And hey, there's this band Small Sins. They haven't been signed yet. Let's do it. And they just, it was like bands getting signed in Seattle grunge or something. Like they just wanted to have their version of that. And I'm convinced that the only reason I got that paycheck was because of Broken Social Scene Feist. I know it. Like, whatever.
Thanks, guys.
Even though like
thanks for the money.
And I obviously have very little to do with those guys. Like I mean, we sort of know them and stuff and see them around, but like artistically or business wise or anything, we don't really have a relationship yet. We fully know we got that money because of them. Whatever. Great.
Okay, so it's been 3 years, and I just sort of wondered, how good does it actually feel to finally have it out? I mean, 3 years is sort of a long time.
Great. I was really insecure about it at first, and being off the map for such a long time, I was a little worried about how people were going to receive me after being gone for such a long time, and sort of insecure about whether what I believed to be good. I made a record that I believed was good, but I want other people to like it too, and I get worried. And so this last couple weeks when we got some really good reviews that started coming in and stuff, and all that sort of pressure and weight just came off my shoulders, knowing that people actually like this record too, and I'm not just living in my own crazy little world, So it's just been a real relief this last couple of weeks to just see that positive reaction, which part of me is always scared that I wouldn't get. Maybe the whole thing would be trashed, and if we got 1 star everywhere we went, then I would have been walking around feeling really bad and not wanting to talk to you right now. But that didn't happen. Everybody loved it, so I'm doing good.
You Will Lie, I believe the song's called, or yeah, that song. Talk a little bit about that song, because that song I sort of thought you were maybe opening up a little bit there.
Yeah, it's definitely the most personal song on the album, and that just there was a while there. Like, I mean, part of the problem during the hiatus was that I was having a bit of trouble finding things to write about, to a certain extent. Like when you have a girlfriend that you love and your life's actually pretty okay, and if all the bands you've ever been in before were all about breakups and wanting to bang chicks or something, but that's not part of your life anymore, then what do you write about? I'm so used to writing about that stuff, and so that song is sort of attacks that like little sliver of doubt in my relationship. Is really hard to accept that there's any doubt with somebody that you're really happy with, and sort of heartbreaking that if you sort of believe that there's always this chance that everything can kind of collapse, and just like kind of emotionally difficult to deal with, and definitely the most personal moment and like hardest one to say out loud or not be embarrassed about singing about.
I mean, I think a lot of people could relate to that.
Yeah.
Especially I guess the older you get, the more.
Yeah, and so even though you're really even though you're generally happy and your life seems pretty okay, you know, like the house of cards can come tumbling down in a moment. And you always just, I think humans just have that little bit of fear present all the time, which is tough to deal with, you know.
Are you okay, you know, putting that stuff out there, you know, to mass amounts of people? Does it come back to haunt you ever?
Well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Knock on wood. I guess another question we ask everybody that comes in is to recommend 5 essential records. Steve,
Like
I'm looking at you.
currently?
Yeah.
Or
5 essential albums for you guys, I guess, as musicians. When you first started, maybe those albums that when you were a kid were really implemental in changing your path.
well, I don't know about as a kid, but me and Steve have been talking about Hall & Oates an awful lot lately.
There you go. There's one.
Yeah,
How
like
that's got a big influence on this record for sure.
Hall & Oates 2 CD greatest hits starting all over or something like that. It's just like that is like the lesson book, how to be a pop songwriter, because like they do stuff like that is as bare bones or as simple or as complicated as it needs to be, and they weren't afraid to use new technology like drum machines and stuff in the late 70s, and it's like it's all music, it's all fun, let's do it. And yeah, another record that we love is it's sort of like a fake punk record from the late 70s called the Bad Habits by the Monks.
Yeah.
And these 3 dudes from England just like basically taking the piss at punk rock, which was like the big fad back in the time. And they made a better punk rock record than most of the real
Any
dudes.
punk band.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's the best punk record not made by a punk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've listened to that one over and over since we were like, we've made music together since we were like 16. The Monks has been in the CD player since then and continues to be
left.
now. It's been 14 years of listening to the Monks.
Nice. Yeah, nice. They had CD players back then, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they were just starting out, but yeah.
Anything else that you guys? You got 3 more. 3 more songs. Any jazz ones? I thought you guys might bust out a jazz one or 2.
Yeah, probably a big influence is Wilco's Yankee Hotel Foxtrot is pretty much the best record of the last decade, I think.
A lot of people are Wilco fans. They stick to that band.
And then what else? What are the ones in the van that we
You
just...
said the Beatles. I read somewhere that you said the Beatles were your favorite band. Is that true?
Well, like they're kind of everybody's favorite band.
Yeah.
Really, like you can't.
Yeah. You have that's
Radar
the
Brothers.
answer you have to say.
Yeah, the Radar Brothers. We listen to that one a lot.
Yeah, their second record called "And the Surrounding Mountains" we had on repeat basically in the van, because it's just like this sort of spooky
Mellow.
Pink Floyd kind of folk thing.
Yeah.
And it's just a great record to listen to over and over again.
Partying now.
I think we really are in a club all of a sudden. One more. You guys got one more?
Let's go with the Green Stereo Lab one.
Yeah, Dots and Loops.
Dots and
Recorded in Chicago.
Same studio we use, same producer.
Same
we
producer.
use. Probably why we like him. You know, why we chose to work with him is probably that record.
Yeah.
And Yankee Hotel Foxtrot actually is mixed there as well, but just not by him.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's got to add a new energy to the record, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great studio. Like, you can just be as much of a nerd as you want, and there's like unlimited silly keyboards to play with and owner's manuals to read.
Nice.
That we're like, wow, check out this manual. This is so cool. And just like, yeah, waste a lot of time being a nerd there.
Nice. Tour plans.
November, Canadian tour, Toronto to Vancouver, and everywhere in between.
Nice. Guys, best of luck with the tour and the record.
Thank you very much.
Totally. Cheers.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for coming
sir.
in. Thanks.
Cheers.
ExploreMusic wears English Laundry apparel.